Okay, so I'm going to tell you the really ugly part. The part you don't even tell your best friends because it crosses the line from heartbroken into genuinely unhinged. It was his Venmo. Not even his profile, he never used it. I'm talking about the public feed. I had no idea you could just search anyone's name and see a running list of everything they paid for. It was like a fire hose of his new life, and I just stood there with my mouth open, drowning in it. It started as I wonder kind of thing and quickly snowballed into a 24/7 surveillance mission. I was running from the greasy screen of my phone. My thumb developed a mind of its own. This twitchy, self-destructive little habit. Open Venmo, type his name, refresh. Open, type, refresh. Over and over. I started learning the faces of his new friends from their tiny little profile pictures. I became an expert on his evenings. A pizza emoji sent to a girl named Chloe? My stomach would just drop. A couple of beer emojis to his buddy Ben? A tiny, pathetic little wave of relief. It was just this constant, real-time data stream of how much my life didn't matter to his anymore. I wasn't a person. I was just the creepy operator at my own personal misery command center. About a weekend, the phantom phone vibrations started. You know the ones? That little buzz in your pocket that makes your whole body jolt with adrenaline. My heart would start pounding, and I'd rip my phone out, my hand all sweaty, only to see a dead black screen. It was like the ghost of a text message from a life that was already over. I stopped sleeping. I'd just lie awake in the dark, my face lit up by the blue glow of the screen, making up entire movies in my head about the transactions. That payment to a bar called the Low Post? Oh, I could see it all. Him laughing, leaning in close to hear someone over the music, his hand just casually resting on the back of her chair. I was the writer, director, and sad, lonely audience for my own personal horror movie, every single night. I remember opening my fridge at one point and finding a carton of milk that had turned into a solid block. I had absolutely no memory of buying it. I was doing a pretty good impression of a normal person. But on the inside, I was basically a ghost haunting my own apartment. And I thought this gross little secret, this obsession, was totally under control. I thought I was fine. And then I saw the transaction. It was super late, maybe 2 a.m, and I was doing my little ritual, refresh. There it was. A payment to some woman I'd never seen before. Clara. The note was just 2 words. For the frame. Everything just went silent. You know how you can always hear the fridge humming? It just stopped. A frame. What the hell was that supposed to mean? A picture frame. For a picture of them? A piece of art for the apartment that used to be our apartment? Not knowing was the worst part. It was a clue to a new story, and I was locked out of the room where it was being told. I felt all the blood drain from my face. My chest felt like it was full of cement. That was it. That was the moment I just broke. It wasn't loud, just a quiet little snap. The next day, I drove to the grocery store and I couldn't get out of the car. I just sat in the parking lot for an hour, watching people go in and out with their carts, living their normal lives. Buying milk and bread and eggs. I was completely paralyzed. The simple act of walking into a store felt like this monumental task for people who were still actual people. I was just an empty container for this one giant screaming ache. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror and I didn't recognize the person staring back. Her eyes were just hollow. This was rock bottom. Not some big dramatic movie scene, just me. Totally shut down in the parking lot of a Safeway on a Tuesday. Later that night. Sitting in my dark living room, I opened my laptop. My fingers typed out something I was too embarrassed to even think. How to claw your way out of your own head. I scrolled through endless pages of cheesy wellness blogs and dumb listicles. It all felt like it was written for a completely different species. Then, buried deep in the comments section of some ancient internet forum, I saw it. A single anonymous post. It mentioned something called the 7-day scaffolding. The name was so stupid and clinical. My entire life felt like a bombed-out city, and the internet was offering me a screwdriver. It was almost insulting. But I was at the bottom of a well, and it was the first thing that looked even a little bit like a rope. I had nothing to lose. I found the list. Day 1. The demolition. The instruction was simple. Delete the app. Not just log out. Drag it to the trash. My thumb was literally shaking as it hovered over the little blue icon. This was my only link, my only source of information, even if it was poison. It felt like choosing to go blind. I squeezed my eyes shut, held my breath and pressed down until it wiggled, then tapped the little X. It was gone. The silence that followed was terrifying. The list said to write down one small win. On the back of a gas station receipt, I wrote, I made my world smaller. I felt like a total loser. Day 2. The foundation, the task, clean one surface until it shines. I picked my kitchen counter, which had become a graveyard of junk mail, keys, and coffee stains. I just threw everything out. I scrubbed it with a sponge, using the motion to try and burn off some of my frantic energy. I scrubbed it until I could see my reflection in it. It was this tiny island of order in the total chaos of my brain. My win on a sticky note this time. I made one small thing clean. Day 3. The first step. Walk for 20 minutes. No phone, no music. Just walk. I put on my sneakers, which were covered in dust, and went outside. The air felt cold on my skin. I just focused on my feet hitting the pavement. Left, right, left, right. It felt so basic, but it was forward motion. My head was still a mess of anxiety and what-ifs, but for 20 minutes my body was doing something productive. It was moving away from the girl in the car. When I got back, I felt like I could breathe a little deeper. I wrote, my body still knows how to move forward. The next few days were more of the same ridiculously simple stuff. Day 4. The soundscape. I put on some instrumental music, something with no words or memories attached, just to fill the awful silence in my apartment with something other than my own thoughts. Day 5. The sustenance. I actually chopped an onion, smelled it cooking with garlic, and made a simple bowl of pasta. I sat at my table and ate it, and I tried to actually taste it. Day 6. The release. I wrote down the one thought that was torturing me the most on a tiny piece of paper, crumpled it up as tight as I could, and threw it in the trash. It was so dumb, but the physical act of letting it go felt surprisingly good. This morning was day 7. I woke up because the sun was coming through the blinds and hitting my face. And that was my first thought. Not his name, not an app, not a question about a frame. Just asterisk that sun feels nice. Asterisk, it was so simple, so normal. I just laid there for a second, waiting for that familiar cold, heavy feeling to settle in my stomach. And it didn't. It wasn't there. Later, while I was making coffee, it hit me. I hadn't even thought about checking. The obsessive, twitchy need in my brain that had been running my life for weeks was just gone. The space it took up felt empty, but it wasn't a painful emptiness. It was just quiet. Look, the reason I'm telling you all this, laying out the whole pathetic, ugly story, is because I know what it feels like to be in that parking lot. I know that feeling where you're 100% convinced you're broken for good. I never thought some stupid, sterile list from the internet could do anything. And it didn't magically fix me. I'm still sad, but it gave me a little bit of scaffolding. It gave me a temporary structure to stand on while I figured out how to rebuild. It showed me how to stop staring at his life and start living in my own room again. So if you're down there in the dark, refreshing a screen that's only showing you your own pain, just listen. The way out is small. It's one stupid, insultingly simple step at a time. Find your own ridiculous set of instructions. And just start with day 1.